They've got them in 10 pounders and 20 pounders and in 30 pounders. That's their favorite gun. The one gun we got, you see the naval gun that's got the hole in the back of the caseable? It was actually made for a New York battery, and they wanted a battery of Parrotts, and they only had five Army Parrotts guns, and they had one naval gun, so they sent the naval gun off and got captured by the Rebs. And then it got captured back, and the guy who captured it was some young general named Custer.
Oh, yeah.
And he wrote all that. He wanted to get credit for capturing the gun, so he wrote all the. That's one of the guns that they've got is a gun that Custer captured back. Cannoneers, post! Post on the police, march!
Oh crap, we're going to need earplugs for this, aren't we?
Well, what we brought for you today is our model 1861 Parrott 10-pounder. The tube on this gun weighs 900 pounds. The old carriage it's mounted on is another 900 pounds. So that's 1,800 pounds of gun sitting there. Velocity is about 1,230 feet per second. It has a maximum range of just about 3 miles, 2 7/8 miles. So this gun will shoot about 3 miles. If I can see the target, I can hit the target. It was serviced, each gun was serviced with a crew of 10 men. 8 of them were in numbered position. We're going to go through each man, and I'm going to have each man tell you the gun itself is pulled by a two-wheeled cart like this. It's called a limber. On top of the limber, anytime you see a copper top box, that means there's ammunition inside. The first 50 projectiles for the gun are in this chest. The gun was pulled with a 6-horse hitch that required 3 drivers. The drivers were saddled on a horse on the right side, and they operated the horse on the right side and an empty horse on the left. So you had 6 horses and 3 drivers. In order to get us into this firing position, they had to do a figure 8. They would have come in from the back side, wheeled around, dropped the gun there, came again, dropped the limber here. Once the limber is in place, they take their horses to the rear. At the rear, there's another two-wheeled cart just like this, with an ammunition chest on it, and on its pinto hook, the wagon that's hooked back there is a two-wheeled wagon called a caisson, and on top of the caisson are 2 more ammunition chests. So I have 4 ammunition chests, 50 projectiles in each chest. When the battle starts, I have 200 projectiles to fire. We're going to go through the drill for you today, and we're actually going to do it 3 times. First, we're going to talk about their positions, then we're going to go through without powder, then we're going to go through it with detail, with powder, and then we're going to go through it with detail as it was done on the battlefield, giving none of the commands. So I'm going to start by having the men talk about their equipment and their responsibilities. I'll start on the right front. Number 1, your equipment, your responsibility.
Number 1, the implement that I have is called the sponge ram. On one end of this, you see a sponge. On the other, there's a ram. With the sponge, I clean the gun. There's a little water in front. I dip the sponge the first time into the water, clean out the gun after it's been fired. The second time I go down with the sponge, you'll notice I don't dip it in the water. I go in and get anything that's left in there with a dry sponge. When we're ready to ram the charge home, we use the other end, the ram. When the charge is put in front of the gun, I carefully ram the charge back to the back of the gun. It's then ready to be primed and fired.
Number 2 is on the left front. Number 2, your equipment, your responsibility.
In the number 2 position, I have 2 duties and 1 implement. My implement is called the worm. It has a corkscrew type effect on the end with 2 sharp points. This is to be inserted into the barrel after every firing and retrieve any debris that might be left in there. During the Civil War, this was not used that much because the gunpowder was in a woolen bag that pretty much disintegrated. Today, however, with our gunpowder and aluminum foil, we always need to make sure we get that out before the next firing. My second job is to accept the powder in the charge room from either number
target that's 100 feet away or 3 miles away, the charge of gunpowder for this gun is going to be a 1-pound charge of cannon grade powder. As he said, it was wrapped in, it came forward in a woolen bag of wild boar bombas at a very tight weave, but we did not change the amount of gunpowder that went down in the tube, regardless of how far the target was away. Number 3 on the right rear, your equipment, your responsibility.
My responsibility is to try to keep the gun as safe as possible before it's fired. I do that with this implement called a thumb stop. It's a leather pad that goes over the thumb that I put over the hole in the back of the tube to keep, first of all, create a vacuum, and number 1, number 2 pulls out the spike that creates a vacuum if I have this over the vent hole. My other responsibility is the priming wire. The priming wire is used by inserting it into the vent hole, puncturing the powder bag, exposing the gunpowder on the projectile. At all times during the drill or during the firing, you will see me with this over the vent hole to prevent any type of premature explosion or firing of the gun. Then my last duty is to put and hold the lanyard as number 4 is backing up in case he trips. He doesn't accidentally hold the lanyard to set the gun off by act as a safety. That's my primary responsibility.
Number 4, he has the fun job on the crew. Number 4, your equipment, your responsibility.
All right, for my equipment, I have a 6-foot-long lanyard and friction primer pouch. And inside the friction primer pouch are, friction primers. I do 2 things. I assist in sighting the piece and open the gunner. And he'll just tell me which way to adjust the cannon, and little movement in the back makes a big difference. But when it comes to firing, I'll take my lanyard, I'll attach friction primer, which is a little tube filled with fulminated mercury and gunpowder. And on that wire, it's like striking a match with that gunpowder, and it just sets the gun off. Let's see. Prior to the Civil War, there was the flint stock, and that has a slow match fuse on it. And number 3 would pour fine gunpowder down the vent. And fine gunpowder, especially black powder, doesn't really work well on windy or rainy days. So fighting was typically
Those are the first 4 positions, 1, 2, 3, 4, they're on the gun. 5, 6, 7, and 8 are back at the limber. 5 and 7 had specific duties that they were responsible for. Let's start with number 5. 5 and 7.
That's number 5 or number 7. It was my job to carry ammunition, any one of 3 types of rounds forward to the front of the gun. This happens to be a 10-pound Parrott projectile, a solid bolt designed to put holes in things and knock over other cannons. This one's a hollow shell filled with a liner of steel balls, or iron balls rather, with a core of gunpowder. It can fire 2 different types of fuses, which was prepared by number 6 back here at the chest. But a time fuse for time of flight can be cut for the proper time of flight dictated by the gunner, placed in the nose. When the gunpowder goes off inside the barrel, lights the end of the fuse and it spins going down range, and it explodes in X number of seconds. The other type of fuse was an impact fuse. This plug would have to be removed. The priming cap would go on the inside of this, put back into the round, and this round would be fired. When it hit the ground, it would explode. So we have 2 types of fuses on the same type of plug.
Number 6 fuse to the precise length. I know with a muzzle velocity of 1,230 feet per second, if I want an aerial burst at 2,000 yards, I need a fuse that's going to burn for 6.5 seconds.